it was always my dream. We're going to talk about
Facebook
AI
candles.
today. I'm here with my better half, Matt, and we're going to talk today about artificial intelligence
Or
because
absence of intelligence.
it is an end times topic, to be honest, because everybody wants is like, oh God, this could be really bad. And it probably will be. Let's be honest. It's gonna get rough. It's gonna get
Yeah.
rough. We all need to be real chill about it and just like
Well,
go
and these
forward.
companies, these massive companies are going after a money grab here with filing in the last few days for an IPO.
Oh yeah, Samuel Altman, a bad gay. Don't love it. It's like Jesus Christ.
The man's peak grift. Just,
Compulsive liar.
Mhm. Which is
Yeah,
great because he's selling to people that lie to themselves.
they lie to themselves. They want to be lied to. Yeah, for real. Um, it's grim, but we's gonna get through it. We's gonna get
Always do. Always do.
because we have to.
Pretty much.
Anyway, but the thing that as therapist, I am doing all of the research on ChatGPT psychosis, which is becoming really pretty prevalent and it's terrifying. And your local community therapy people are not very well educated on it because how could you be? Because it's like all the research is from yesterday, essentially.
I mean, academia, just as a matter of practice, is usually, a
Okay.
decade behind
I got this
things.
one paper that I'm looking at that's brand new, and they've got some little bit from last year. That's where we are in the academic literature.
Oh, well, and some groundbreaking, and I don't mean that in the Miranda Priestley character sense, as in truly novel research that I noticed yesterday out of Sydney, was saying, yeah, we were able to get the latest Chat GPT models to spit out instructions for safely cutting ourselves within less than 2 minutes.
That was terrifying.
Completely terrifying.
It did, because the thing about the ChatGPT models at this point, and I have a pretty good global kind of conception of how it works. At least I think I do because of my time in the valley.
Sure.
Like conceptually, but like there's no good way to fix that to my mind. They have to go and then hard code things into the model, which by the way, absolutely makes the idea of large language models like stupid to me. I mean, I'm a pretty much a layperson who knows too much about it for a French major and therapist, is all I'm saying. So, but psychology, and I nailed this like at least 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This paper that I was reading that actually my daughter turned me on to, which was like she's getting older. Okay, so because she knows I've been going off, it's called the ontological dissonance hypothesis. AI triggered delusional ideation as folie de technologique. We do speak French in this house, but folie de means a shared madness, but between two people. So two. Or you put in however number, and if it gets to be a
Yeah,
ton
up
of
to
people, you
you.
put plusieurs. And they say folie à deux technologique because they have determined that a dyad is between the person and the computer. So that's why they say technological folie à deux. It's fucking scary, but I wanted to talk to Matt because Matt is tell them about your fancy degrees from France.
I studied management of technology and innovation, both at a master and then doctorate level. And there's a lot of innovation in this, but also what's really in it?
Well, right. And then now you have your day job and you work in the airline industry and you guys have been through sort of like a mainstream thing that people in, like white collar professional thing. Everyone's living through this, right? So I feel like your company and the stories that you tell me are not any different to anyone else, like in your like cohort of white collar professionalism.
Right.
And
When I
you're
hear about what's
using
going on at other airlines, it's very similar.
and you use at work Claude,
We use Claude,
Claude.
we use Codex, which is Open AI's product. We've got
Oh,
both.
okay, you have both. Now as a layperson, I have a ChatGPT account and you know, I do penance for it, but I have it and I use it sometimes. I don't confide in it. I think that it's not worthy of my confidence, but I do use it for shit that I think it's useful for. It's really good at idea generation and getting you off that white page problem.
Yeah. Gives you something to react to instead of sui generis.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you could say that we're doing the thing where you don't catastrophe, you don't have the cognitive distortions about it. Like, we're not going to say it's all evil, and we're not going to say it's, the Holy Ghost has appeared to me. We're not going to say either of those things. We're going to be like, this is another tool. And like,
Right.
it is kind of a earth-shattering, potentially literally, um, technology. But also, I don't think it's healthy to go all in one way or another right now.
It, you wouldn't use a hammer to do every job that you need around your house,
No.
no matter how great and novel that hammer is.
Well,
Every technology has different uses.
and like I cut my ties with the valley and the people that I knew down there who were invested in this like several years ago, a couple, 2, 3 years ago. And so, granted, I don't know what everyone is thinking, but at the time, they had they were like, this is a long way from being ready for prime time back then. Like a long way being like, I felt like I had the impression that they would have liked to have at least 10 more years to work on this technology. Instead, it became a fad, like the tulips in Holland. You know about the tulips in Holland.
Tulip mania.
Tulipomanie. Hold on, let me look it up for our listener. That is why Holland has tulips, okay? Because it was a period during the Dutch Golden Age when contract prices for some bulbs of the recently introduced and fashionable tulip, which I think came from the Himalayas in their sort of wild form. 1634, and then dramatically collapsed in 1637. It is generally considered to have been the first recorded speculative bubble. And I mean, we've had several of those.
Sure.
Then, like, there's also the idea of like the Luddites, right? Because I feel like that's relevant. Do you know about them?
The Luddites were trying to save their work.
Right, right. And I think we're going to end up with a combo of both these. We're going to have the Tulip Mania plus Luddite because of the way this is going.
I mean, that's that it comes down to peak concentration of wealth. Our life is becoming so hard for so many,
Yeah. And
unreasonably so.
even people who have had it easy, it's starting to like press down.
Exactly.
It's starting to
So,
press down because like when you go like and pay $9 for ground beef and you pay $6 for a gallon of gas and pretty soon that like lovely living that you were making for yourself, even if you were well to do, like it is stressful to see that. And that's without mentioning people who are younger or starting out, and the AI is like taking jobs from entry level stuff.
and when you say taking jobs, explain what you mean by that a little bit.
Well, I don't think we know if AI is taking jobs, so I should stipulate that.
Sure.
I think the fear, and certainly it's very often sold to executive level C-suites as it's going to take jobs, right? They're like, this, you can get rid of humans. You can just do this. And I'm not sure that we have a lot of evidence that it is right now taking jobs. I think that that is the goal of our quote unquote betters, though.
Th- That is the goal of any technology that is
Right.
sold
Any
to
automation.
enterprise.
Any
Sure.
automation, like you could do like, make up some kind of spreadsheet with pivot tables and eliminate several jobs back in the day, right?
And what I've noticed in a lot of companies is not so much that jobs are being taken away or replaced by
Mhm.
automation, by artificial intelligence, AI. It's that different constraints, such as hiring freezes, which are completely popular, or layoffs, during times of economic volatility. Hello. You wake up every morning and are we in a new war? Have we ended a war?
Schrodinger's war.
Schrodinger's war. There is so much volatility and uncertainty caused by what Donald Trump and his cronies are doing to us
Whatever
in the
they
United
vomit out
States
each morning, whatever
that,
amount of money they're stealing from all of us.
well, and they do their worst on the weekends, especially long weekends.
Fridays and Mondays.
Fridays and Mondays, yeah. Uh, so companies are increasingly reluctant to hire more people, which is starving entry level people trying, just graduating, trying to get their initial jobs, initial experience. Well, even internships have been vanishing and disappearing because businesses are just waffling on the, well, what's going to happen? Which direction do I need to go in? Is
Well,
AI
right.
going to do this for me or not? And
Right. And that is actually like a business cycle thing, right? Like this is why everyone's like, oh, the market prefers certainty. And that's true because and people do too, right? You want to know if you take out a mortgage, like you don't want to take out a mortgage if you feel like your job's going to disappear in 6 months, right? It's like so like to that extent, like companies want to do that too. The thing that I feel like is different this sort of civilizational cycle is that they we have this degree of stability because the wealth concentration is it's the foundation of the whole stock market.
it's an anchor.
Yeah, the stock market is, I think, until things get really, really bad, the stock market is going to be really good. And then Elon Musk, etc., come and gaslight everyone and be like, yeah, actually, life is great. Like, I have a lot of money and the stock market is doing good. Well, some of us are fortunate enough to have like a beginning of a nest egg in a stock market. But literally, if you have a 401k, you're not allowed to withdraw it. So what good is even that, even if you are involved in the stock market, right? Like the index fund people.
Yeah, removing whatever saved there is incredibly punitive through taxes, which, by the way, billionaire that's able to say, well, I'm holding so much so much paper, so much stock,
Hmm.
and I'm going to use that as collateral to go and get a loan where
Yeah,
there's no tax.
they're exempt from tax that way because they just borrow. They
They're
just
just
borrow,
borrowing. It's
and you
not a
we don't
withdrawal, it's
pay
borrowing against it.
we don't
And
pay tax on loan repayment. Right. Obviously, and a loan is not income in the same way. Tell
and
me
so they
how,
can keep pumping it up. They keep pumping it up.
right. And they just like, there's five companies that have more money than most countries and have enough money that they could make a dent in the national debt. And at this point, they're just stealing. So that's depressing. But anyway, we might not have a funny issue or funny edition tonight. This night. Tell me how you use the anthropic Claude and
So I work in technology, and we use these tools for software development. They're very useful for certain things that we're doing with software development, and they can speed up what we're doing. So that's what I'm using it for. But I also watch uh, lots of people, whether it's people at work, whether it is uh, things that people will post on typically LinkedIn, but other social media. Look at what I've created.
Mhm.
Isn't it great? Uh, just perusing GitHub and seeing what people are putting out into the world, and find interesting to put out there are all ways to kind of observe what people are doing with these tools.
Right. Okay, and you're not a software engineer.
No, I'm not a software engineer. And yet I do plenty of software engineering
Mhm.
is the thing. And I have done throughout my career, because a problem that's well defined is a problem that's half solved. So for someone like me that is not a software engineer by trade, no, I'm not going to know exactly the right way to structure a database efficiently, or to do these things that are of huge import when you're making large systems. But being able to explain this is the information that I need in and out, and explain in plain English the
Mhm.
steps that I need that information to go through to get some type of result. In my
Mhm.
current field, get someone onto an airplane safely. Uh, it makes the development process so much easier when I'm able to offer that specificity, while still leaving open, room for engineers to express their own creativity and their
Now,
craft.
how would you say that outside of the coding? Because, like I said, I use it in ChatGPT format because that suits my needs. And like, how would you say people in like another department that wasn't technical use it?
A lot of other departments or use cases that people have are digesting information, summarizing it. And so they treat these tools as a way of querying some body of information. And they don't know where that information is even coming from. They'll
Right.
say that they're pointing it, they'll use a skill or a plugin or things like that, and say, well, I'm going to look at our web analytics data, or I'm going to look at this industry manual, or this publication, and it will retrieve and distill the answer, the thing I need for me.
What does it hallucinate?
All the time. All the
Okay,
time. It
so,
does even with coding tasks, which it is actually good at.
well, right, right. So, like hallucinating, when we talk about hallucination in the context of artificial intelligence, that means it just makes shit up, right? It just makes shit up. Like the big deal in academia, for example, is it will just make up sources out of whole cloth. It will be like Professor Robert Boyle, 2025, the Journal of North American EMDR psychotherapy. It will make shit up like that. And then a lot of times like
It'll
professors
even make these backstories. He's the
will.
department chair at Northwestern.
Right. If you query him on it, it will give you more bullshit. And to be honest, I don't know if that's ever going to get better or not. I strongly suspect that they will make it appear like it's getting better, but that it won't. And obviously, time will tell. I mean, if they hadn't rolled this out like a decade too early, they would have had time to work through some of this shit and have answers for us all. But here we are because they needed to have something through.
Yeah, if you think about kind of the setup of this storm that we find ourselves in,
It is a
specific
perfect
to AI,
storm. Yeah.
it is, but it's also contrived. So software, as it turns out, which is where so much venture capital has been going since the dot-com bust for the past 25 years now. Well,
More than that.
turns out there's an upper limit to just how much software people need and are willing to buy and be able to pay for. I don't need three different TurboTaxes.
I mean,
I
there's all
don't.
kind of softwares that I would totally use if they were free,
If
but
they were
like
free
now
or
they
priced
actually are
attractively,
not, they're not cheap anymore.
no,
So you
no.
have to
And
pay a like significant amount of money to have all this shit that used to be free, and that was their loss leaders, and I get that. I think everyone gets that. It's like I have to pay real money for this now. But that also means that normal people have to restrict their spending on softwares and like ask for value at it. Now, I think one of the things that people have the impression about with AI is that it is substitutable for any number of softwares, logiciel, software.
yes,
And,
and
and
I see people. My cousin, he works on a dairy farm. He runs with his soon-to-be wife a dairy farm,
do they have many
and
cows at the dairy farm? Do they have many cows?
they've got a dozen cows. This is a very small boutique
But they must have
operation.
many cows are good.
And yeah, I mean, they know their animals. They love their animals. I used the word craft earlier. This is their craft,
Hmm.
and they've created a community around this craft. It's very admirable. And one of the things that he uses, and he shared with me, Claude for, is to track production output of the cows because they go through birth cycles, they go through heat, temperature,
Right.
all of these factors go
All these
into
averages. Right.
right, go into to the productivity of the cows. And then uses this chat interface to give him the information about this. Well, the problem is that that is giving a mathematical formula, a math equation of saying how much do I have across this and averages and things like that, which computers are phenomenal at. Like that's what they are made for, is doing mathematical computation, clues in the
Math.
name.
That's literally
Math.
why we invented them.
Exactly.
Math and weaving. That's why we.
But this is applying a language model. And yes, there is underlying math to that, statistics, probabilities, but that's not the same as arithmetic.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
In fact, that's like the least reliable math that there is.
And so I find it fascinating and somewhat perplexing that he wants to use a language model that is consuming a completely opaque currency, which is an approximation of that compute, tokens, an amount of words processed by this model to reach whatever output you're getting to. And instead of saying, hey, Claude, can you give me a script that is going to calculate this for me, where he can run the things in, the inputs in, and get consistent outputs,
Hmm.
instead chooses to go through the language parsing where you're going to get a different output every single time you ask it.
Yeah, see, I just feel like that's so discouraging if that happens.
It is. And I find it curious because I get what he's trying to go for with a simple interface. Conversation is such a human
Well, you just
way
want
of
to ask
interacting.
somebody a question and then have it's like the oracle in ancient
Right.
Greece. Yeah.
There's value in that as an interface that computing has left largely untouched as a discipline in our software and whatnot. But getting to it through these large language models for absolutely everything under the sun is bonkers. Again, going back to that hammer, you're not going to take a hammer around for every DIY task that you're trying to do around your house. That's stupid.
Right.
You'll break things.
Right.
But there is so much money that is flowing into really two companies, OpenAI and Anthropic, because software and venture capital really is in its death throes of its last hurrah of the zero to billions of dollar market size because who needs another Airbnb? It's done. Who needs another Uber? It's done.
Like, and then like those things are kind of little bit consumer driven, which depends on people having money, individuals,
Sure.
and they don't care about that anymore, right?
No.
Okay, so talk about cost though, because you've been talking as we have talked about how obviously the data centers, that's in the news. They're, forcing these data centers like corruptly, I would say 9 times out of 10 on these local communities.
Go find
Go find some
corrupt
corrupt
jurisdiction.
mayor and just like have him push it through and pay him, $100,000, like good bargain. Um, and just like find a corrupt mayor and push it through. And then all of a sudden the residents all hate you and like, but it's too late. It's too late. It's like how the West or the East Wing is bulldozed. Like once it's bulldozed, like there's no legal remedy. So obviously this costs an enormous amount of money. Obviously they're all racing to build these data centers, but then you have to wonder
They're
what
claiming to race to build these data centers,
what
but
is the
actual
need
work on the ground happening, they're not.
there. So they're not. So
Turns out building data centers is actually hard.
right. And it's very sort of Trumpian, to be honest, to just be like, yeah, we're doing it. And then like no one's ever gonna like because I feel like societally people have first of all, the money's flowing in, who gives a shit? But people have also forgotten like the attention span, and none of us is exempt from that. The
No.
attention span is like nil, and people forget to check back on something. Like if somebody's like, "Yeah, that'll be done in a
100 trade
year."
deals in 100 days. We're
Right,
on day 400. How many
right.
trade deals? Zero.
Exactly. And it's just like people just like it just the news cycle and this doom scrolling and you forget no one is immune to that. And because no one is immune to it, it's an important point of leverage for the powers that be, by which I mean the ultra rich, the oligarchs. So you were just saying that they aren't they're saying that they are building these, but they aren't. But then also, why do they need to build them?
So most software,
Hmm.
as you add more users, the cost of servicing each user goes down.
Correct. Gotcha.
I can pay, a group of engineers a total amount of salary of $1 million for a team of engineers over a year. And if I sell that software to 10 companies, I need to be charging at least $100,000 to
Yeah.
break even.
Well, it's just like any bundle. And you can
Right.
charge progressively less the more
The more
subscribers you have
exactly,
or
exactly.
licenses.
You spread your costs. Large language models don't work that way. The more they are used, the more server computing power, the more calculations have to be performed because every query that's put in has to be computed. And
Right.
the more,
Scratch.
right, um, the more complex requests people are making of this and saying, I need you to go and look at, I was talking about, um, people wanting to find the answers in documentation. Here's this public company's investor filing, their annual report that's filed with the SEC. Go and pull it apart. Well, that is a 120-page document that has to be loaded into memory, cycled through how many times to then distill that into a summary of here's point by point by point.
Which you also have
And
to check and make sure it's right.
which you have to check and make sure it's right because when you run out of memory, that's where you get more and more of these hallucinations. These machines are going to compact,
Okay,
condense the information that they've processed up to that point and make a summary, and then we're getting summaries upon summaries upon summaries upon summaries.
right. So like I kind of are like so the sell for the new data centers, I'm guessing,
Mhm.
is oh, it will stop hallucinating when we get more data centers.
We'll be able to, right, we'll be able to service more people.
Is that true though, do you think?
I would lean towards, I don't know for certain, but my what I'm observing is, and this is true of anything. You can buy something that's at the low end of the cost quality curve, and you can go all the way to the high end. Well, every time we keep on saying bigger and more and more and more, like that's pushing us into that higher end, but it doesn't offer more benefit. You
Hmm.
have the law of diminishing returns in every situation, and that's where we are
Like
in what
now
we're
there's just so
noticing.
much money that it
Right,
doesn't matter. Like the money doesn't matter anymore. It just doesn't. It does to people like us, but like most people. But at the top, it doesn't matter. They don't care. They're not motivated by money except like if it's got, 17 digits after it, like they are concerned about the billions, the S under after the bill
and specifically the billions to their name.
to their name, which is nothing to do with the corporation that they're on the board of or leading or whatever, just like Elon. He just like goes gallivanting across the world. His board never holds him to account for anything. And yet he makes money hand over fist. He's got all these corporations he's spinning off. You can't do that. Like it's obviously not serious. He's
He
not a
made
serious person.
he made SpaceX go and buy XAI, where they just arbitrarily came up with whatever number they wanted to say it's worth this.
Right. And then, like, I was watching a thing today saying, oh, it's on the Bulwark. I watch them. They're sort of a center right, used to be center right type of people. And now they're like probably closer to way left wing than anybody. But they were talking about this guy that Tim Miller had interviewed, and I watched that part of it too. I had to turn it off halfway through because I just felt like he was so Kool-Aid inebriated. And I was just like, I can't deal with this anymore. This is like, how? Why? Who are you working for? Who are you shilling for? His name was Jason Kalinak.
Calcanus.
Yeah, Calacanis. And I was like, I mean, you're just selling something. I don't know who you work for. Like, I don't know. But I was just like, you're just kind of lacking knowledge of how the world actually works. Like, and one of the things Tim Miller said is, what do you think will happen? Like all these people who are, you know, everything that goes up has to come down.
And
Like
that,
tulips aren't worth the equivalent of $6,000 a bulb anymore. They aren't.
no. And that's consistent with who believes or who proclaims to believe that this is transformational as a technology. It is the executive class, the people that are so far detached from the actual work being done.
Hmm. Well, they
I
find
went
it
on
the
a pl
most useful.
well, both they find it the most useful, but they're the ones to believe because they think in abstract about what someone's actual work is.
Right, right. Without knowing what it is intimately.
Without knowing what it is and without being curious to understand what it might be
Yes.
and what energy it takes to perform that task.
And like part of me is like, oh God, if I were in their position, would I be that curious? I I probably would want to be, and I think that might ground me a little bit. But I get it. But what I don't get is the personality flaws in these people. I don't get those. Like the complete obtuseness. Like it's like, Barbara Streisand is a poor bitch compared to all these people, but the way that everyone's like, don't look at her, don't look at her. Like, yeah, that's how you end up like super out of touch and you're just a personality disorder, a walking personality disorder at that point. Like nobody needs that in their life. Tell me about these because we've had a big event with respect to tokens. Now I
Sure.
have a little $20 account in ChatGPT. I don't worry about tokens just now, but that's not how the corporate accounts are working and rolling out.
That's not how the corporate accounts are working. And all of the accounts, that $20 a month account or whatever level people are subscribing at, that is heavily subsidized.
Right.
That is heavily subsidized by venture money.
It's like a loss leader, like in the way that Web 2.0, like you could get your little organizational tool and pay like $2 for it a month and then they jacked it up to like, 300 a year or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't even know that the words loss leader uh
No, it's
suit in
true,
this.
huh? Not
Like
necessarily.
I'd be curious to figure out what the actual words are. In my mind, the loss leader is tomorrow at the grocery store down the road. They'll have on Wednesday $1.99 milk. Of course, I'm showing up on Wednesday,
Right. And then
but
you
I
buy
might
more stuff.
buy a couple
Right.
of other things, and that store happens to be more expensive than my
Right.
habitual grocery
Whereas
spend.
the loss leader implies that there's more than one thing to buy.
Hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And what, this gets more into the, well, your first hit is free.
Oh, like this is the
I'm going to make you dependent on this drug that I'm selling. Exactly.
lines lines outside means lines inside.
And once you realize just how much better your life is, that you cannot live without this, then you're going to be willing to pay the price that I dictate that you pay.
Mhm. And then, of
Now,
course, we're talking about de-skilling.
we're talking about de-skilling.
Mhm.
We're talking about people trying to do things that they don't understand and aren't even, it's not that they don't understand, it's that they're not even undertaking an exploratory, I'm going to try and figure this out, learn type of approach to it. They're just throwing stuff up against the wall, expecting the machine to figure it out for them magically.
Which, interestingly, is what the stochastic gradient descent, which is the model behind the LLM. So you now have people imitating a computer
Hmm.
by throwing shit into the model and seeing what comes back. And then they judge it based on themselves or based on like if they get bitched at by a boss or based on whatever other input. That's the exact, so they are acting like a large
They're
language
acting like a
model.
computer, and that, therein the Jim Bros become accurate in saying, well, this is all a simulation. It's like, yeah, because we are choosing as people, as humans, to instead of talking to one another, asking for advice, having conversations with one another, we're choosing to supplant that with a machine that changes us into acting more like computers. And that can't go on.
Either that or
That
make
it's
us act more human to the degree that we go insane, which is more of what I'm always thinking, which is a
right.
very human thing to do.
Right, because we cannot function that way.
Right.
We're not made to.
Okay, so tell me about the cost because that's where we went.
The cost. So, um, and every company, large scale company that is paying for this right now has been blowing through their budget before 4 months in the year.
Been
What they had
artificially cheap.
No,
Oh,
well, it has been artificially cheap, but even with it, they have given access to whatever group of employees they've been giving access to. And those employees have been burning through, consuming so much of these services that it has just completely eaten the budget that had been set aside for AI spend.
right.
And we're talking to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, is it good business for, a vendor to say, surprise, here's this bill?
Well, also people
Like,
have to decide for themselves whether it's worth it or not.
and who can say? Who can even, nobody has been
Fun.
able to come forward and say, like, here's the actual return on an investment that we have with this
Right.
tool.
Um, right. So already, and then this speaks to a little bit of the data center thing because they're all rushing to spend more money. Like the amount of money, for example, Amazon is paying. It's not sustainable.
It's
How much
not
money?
sustainable.
Even like they've got more money than God, but
They,
even like drunken sailor amounts of money. And like, why? They're standing up all these data centers or trying to, or like in talks or lobbying or all of this shit that costs a shit ton of money. And then they're not, to this point, even like businesses that find it useful are starting to be like, wow, this is getting prohibitive.
yeah. They've become accustomed to, we in marketing you talk about, price fixing. What's the value of something? People have become accustomed to paying their $20 a month, your plan. If they came to you and said, well, your plan, the actual cost of your plan is, and the value we think it provides is $200. Well, you're probably just going to be like, I'm fine.
Right.
See ya.
That just like, yeah, right.
When I see coworkers hand over and burn through um, the equivalent of over $100 in tokens to learn how to do a task that would take a simple Google search and 5 minutes of puttering about in their terminal to understand what's going on, how to log in securely to a remote server, SSH. This is things that, we've been doing for decades.
Right. And that are trivially
And that are
easy if
trivial.
you have even invested any little amount of time.
Right. These people that I've watched have handed that task over to untangle it to this model and burned through over $100 in tokens instead of using other tools that already existed. Just Google it, search for it. Now I realize Google has been made
I
so
know
shitty,
they have
impossibly shitty to
acidified it
use.
because
You need
it's
to
also
go down
AI.
3 pages. Well,
It's
AI
also
plus their
AI.
ads.
Yeah. Plus ads. Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I find interesting about that is so now companies like they've got all these like average corporation like Acme Corporation of West Akron. has been pushing its employees for a couple of years to adopt AI.
Because nobody wants to be left behind. We've got
Nobody wants to
FOMO
be
going
left
on.
behind. It's FOMO completely. And so they've been pushing their employees. So then you've got some employees who are like, this sucks. I have no use for this. Or I think the one thing that I read once was like, at the C-suite finds it saves them like 30% of time. And like the underlings, it saves them like 5% of time. But then they're telling the CEO, and I could be totally wrong about the 30. It might be like in the teens or something, but it's vastly bigger. It saves them a lot of time because why? They're just doing idea organization and languagey tasks and stuff like that. And like people who have to do technical things, well, they need to know precisely what to do. And that's what the AI is not particularly good at. But um so God, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, um,
Here we are.
here we are. Anyway, no, it was about the money. So they have been pushing all the underlings to use it. And
Yes.
some of the and that's why I talk about de-skilling because some of the underlings will have like it's like I haven't been to the gym for 2 years, right? So I'm a little flabby and lacking muscle tone right now. And your brain is the same way. So if you don't have
Atrophied.
to ever figure anything out, you're going to become dumber. And that's not exclusive. That's not a judgment. It's just how your brain works. Like you have to exercise it. This is why people get dementia sometimes because they sit around and do nothing, right? Like,
Use
so,
it or lose it.
yeah. But they've been being pushed to do this. And now their bosses and all of these people have been pushing them to use this for like a couple of years. All of a sudden, now all of these people are being held to, their feet to the fire. And like, why are you using so much AI?
Yep.
And it's like really rude. And now the people who have been using so much AI and considering it like an accomplishment, like I use a shit ton of AI, I'm so proud. And then now all of a sudden they're like, oh God, you're costing us so much money. Use less AI. And then all of a sudden some of these poor people just can't do the work anymore.
I mean, I would argue that a lot of people that have been using so much AI haven't really understood what to ask of it in the first place.
Right. So they go back and forth with it.
They go back and forth with it. They're not sure what they want, and how can you answer something when you're unsure of what you're even looking for?
Certainly AI can't do that.
Especially if you are uncomfortable, because culturally, nobody wants to be found wanting or not have the answer.
And
Why it's
especially
become so unacceptable to not know something.
in a faddish, like culty environment, which we're in, right?
Right. Like cults want to come out with these expressions of certainty. I
Right.
know that, and never apologize, never backtrack, recast. There are all kinds of things that are at play, but what it comes down to is these people aren't even approaching these tools and looking at them saying, I'm trying to explore and understand because I don't understand.
Right. Right. And
They're just
furthermore,
expecting it to come.
there's
They're expecting magic. They are expecting magic. Everyone in this cycle that we are in,
everyone.
everyone from
Everyone
the venture
pushing it.
capitalists, like they are expecting some kind of miracle.
People are very, very bad at choosing the middle way, especially when in this environment. Like it's either a miracle, like it's almost like splitting. It's almost like cognitive distortion. It's either AI is going to solve every human problem, or AI is going to put me in, we're going to have workhouses again. Um, and it's probably more of a closer to that one, but uh, it's certain.
Well, simply because they're going to like the
Well, they just
amount of money that is invested in
they're
this
just
must
like
work is
so much money that they're literally trying to spend as fast as they can. And I think, one of the things that we are looking at in mental health a lot, and we know nothing about because this has all happened too fast, is the chat GPT psychosis. And I think one of the things that you have to remember is that probably all these oligarchs have that.
yes.
Like they are intense users of AI. And first of all, they are having the double bind of everyone in their life tells them what they want to hear. I'm sorry, you get up over $1 billion, you have no one in your life who is going to tell you how it is. You have no.
No.
So everyone is a yes man because the money is power. Second of all, if you're then an intense ChatGPT user or similar, that never tells you anything you want to hear. And it will probably tell you what you want to hear in a much more eloquent and refined way. And so pretty soon,
It does it in so many words.
I know
It does not, it is not, it is so long-winded.
and it's like they believe their own bullshit. Anyone, people don't believe your own bullshit. Sometimes our bullshit is good, but check it first. My people are my only car. Well, that's good chat.
Yeah,
So why don't we leave it there? I don't know how many cutaways we're gonna have. It's not a funny episode.
we'll have a few in there.
We'll put a few, like who can say? Okay, all right, good night.
Good night. Love you, sweet pea.
Love you.